Welcome ladies and gentlemen to another power scaling video. These are a lot of fun to make, but I struggle to think of ideas for matchups as I don't keep up with the power community enough to be pissed off by a take enough to make a video about it. This video is actually a source of me disagreeing with people's opinions. Anyone who watches, I'm genuinely asking you for ideas, because I like making videos about my opinions and I consistently want to make them because it's fun and an escape for me, but I'm struggling to get ideas right now. And you can ask for other manga or anime other than JJK, because I don't want to talk only about that. And I have quite a catalogue of anime and manga I've watched, so feel free to ask. Maybe I've seen it. Anyway, enough about that. Today's matchup is Satoru Gojo, the man said to be the strongest sorcerer from Jujutsu Kaisen, versus Monkey D. Luffy, the future Pirate King from One Piece. Specifically, I mean Gojo from his latest point in the manga, being his death in chapter 236, and Luffy from the most recent One Piece chapter, being chapter 1111. This fight will be quite the cartoon, so let's talk about it. It seems like a tradition in these videos for JJK to start, so let's continue it. Jujutsu Kaisen's most popular character being Gojo is up first. We'll have to go by my usual setup as where we talk about his stats in this order: speed, defense, strength, and powers. Gojo is able to keep up with Sukuna, who is able to keep up with Maki. Sukuna is also able to fight Kashimo, who can fire EM blasts, putting him at speed of light at the very least. Except, I don't think it is. I thought this put Sukuna at light speed or FTL, but after sitting on this page, it's too unclear. It could very well be the case that Sukuna just dodged before a blasted. Speed relating to Kashimo has always been pretty iffy. A better feat, a speed feat, is Maki running and moving at Mach 3 speeds, and Toji running on water, which would make him be able to run at 20 to 30 meters per second. Gojo is faster than them, so it puts him at Mach 3 at the very least. I think he is faster, hypersonic at most. Gojo is able to tank a hell of a lot as well. He consistently keeps up with and slaps Sukuna around. Gojo's best feat is surviving multiple of Sukuna's domain expansions, which are able to practically erase Shibuya. But to be fair, Gojo was able to survive this because of domain amplification, which dulled the short hit effect, and the reverse curse technique, which was healing. Gojo has insane martial arts skills, and we don't see much of his strength outside of punching a hole through Sukuna's chest and scaling to him when he throws buildings. The last is his abilities. Gojo uses cursed energy, which is energy derived from negative emotions. With cursed energy, Gojo can do cursed energy enforcement, which just makes your durability better. Domain amplification, and new shadow style, which dulls cursed techniques' effect. His cursed technique is absolutely broken. Limitless allows him to make infinite space between him and things around him, so that nothing can ever truly touch him, as the closer it gets, the slower it gets. This isn't all Limitless can do, as it allows him to teleport and use blue, which makes him able to suck things around him towards him with a blue ball. Reversal red, which allows him to make this red ball that can repel anything it touches. Hollow purple, which allows him to make a massive purple ball made of imaginary mass that erases anything it touches. Not entirely though. I'm tired of people saying it erases something entirely. No, it doesn't. Sukuna and Hanami are able to survive it without disappearing, and don't even try to say it's because they had cursed energy reinforcement, because Toji and buildings aren't fully erased by it either. I'm not saying it's survivable for most, but it won't make their body non-existent. Gojo's last ability that I want to talk about is his domain expansion, Unlimited Void. This domain allows him to flood someone's mind with infinite knowledge, making them brain dead if they're caught in it. Yeah, Gojo's strong. Really strong. Really earns his title as the strongest of today. I got these feats from Power Wiki. Yes, I know it's unreliable, but it's difficult to find other sources. And the manga. As always, I'll link my sources down below, as well as any music I use. And if you don't know, I don't do calculations myself because I don't know how, and it's just a lot easier for me to just find sources online. And let me know if I can find any better sources. If I'm not using good ones, let me know. Next up is One Piece's main character, Straw Hat Luffy. Luffy's speed and scaling is pretty controversial, so let's just get this out of the way. He's light speed minimum. Here is him dodging a laser while saying too slow. And this is definitely light because it's used by Pacifista as a copy of the Pika Pika no Mi, or the Light Fruit. The Light Fruit is a low gear type that allows the user of the fruit to turn into and make pure light. I do think he is faster than this as in based form. He's unable to hit Katakuri, but in the Gear 4 Snake Man, he's able to hit Katakuri. Scaling Luffy is really complicated with calcs and gears, and I'm not well equipped to talk about it too well, so I will link a couple of videos that I got the scaling from, but I'll summarize that base Luffy is FTL. The video I'll link said Luffy is 10 times FTL in base and 100 times FTL when in Gear 2/4 Snake Man. That feels really absurd to me for some reason. I can't do that. I'm sorry, I gotta make him a little less. I feel like that's too absurd for me. And no offense to the creator, I love his videos though, but I think that's just too much for me. I think he's a little slower than that, but I can see where the calcs come from. I don't think he's that fast, as I said, but I certainly think base Luffy is faster than light, as he certainly gets faster when dealing with Kaido in base form, and gets speed amps when in Gear 2 and Snake Man, Gear 2 and 4 Snake Man. He also runs into the way of Kizaru's laser, the actual user of the Pika Pika no Mi, and the light beam, and he eats it. Luffy can tank a lot as well. Let's talk about him eating light. But he's also able to take multiple hits from Kaido, who can destroy a mountain with one Bora breath. Luffy does have an immunity to blunt attacks, because he's made of rubber. Luffy has armament haki, which we'll get more into later, but it's basically like an invisible armor. Luffy has insane strength, as he's able to push multiple buildings in Water 7, destroy a building with his foot in Enies Lobby. Why do I keep saying Enies Lobby? Arlong Park, and punch Kaido from the sky to an underground volcano, although this was because of a giant fist the size of an island. It's not as impressive compared to the other stuff, but he's also able to carry these massive blocks. Probably should have put that at the beginning of the list, but As for Luffy's abilities, he has quite a few. Let's leave his double fruit for the last because that's the most interesting. He has the voice of all things, which allows him to hear certain things in the One Piece world really well. Observation haki, which is like hyper-awareness as well as future sight. Armament haki, which is invisible armor, as you know, and it can be used offensively. And Conqueror's haki, which is haki which imposes your will onto others, making them get knocked out if they aren't strong enough and to withstand it, and it can be used offensively. Lastly, let's talk about his devil fruit, the Hito Hito no Mi Model Nika, or otherwise known as the Human Fruit Model Nika. This is a mythical zone type fruit that allows Luffy to permanently turn his body to rubber. This makes him able to squash and stretch. He eventually learns Gear 2, which pumps his blood, and making him faster, Gear 3, which makes him blow up his bones, Gear 4, making him blow up his muscles, and Gear 5, which is his awakening. Gear 5 allows him to go into full Sun God form, where he has more freedom of his body's rubbery nature. It allows him to turn his surroundings and other living things into rubber. It basically makes him have Toon Force. He does a lot of things with this, from popping eyes out of his head, making goggle out of his eyes, out of his hair, and painting a tree into a bat, putting on a helmet, because why not, and making a fist the size of an island. Yeah, he's really strong too. A strong cartoon at that. I got these feats from Debunk vs. Wiki and the manga. As you know, I'll link this stuff in the comments below. Now that we've established what both parties can do, let's talk about the most important part about power scaling battles. Context. I want to set up why these characters are fighting, where they're fighting, what the win cons are, what the rules I'm setting are, and how they'd interact. Let's start with how the power systems interact. The problem is, Gojo's ability inherently makes it impossible to touch him without insane hacks. But that's we don't take into account verse equalization. If you don't know, verse equalization is where you merge two universes in a way where the two power systems interact without questions being raised. I want to use this to counter Gojo's infinity, and I'll elaborate on that when I go to the scenario where we talk about that. Next is why Gojo and Luffy are fighting and whether it makes sense for their characters. I'd say the best reason for Gojo to fight Luffy is either killing him, because Luffy's a pirate and is mistaken by Jutsu Society to be a bad sorcerer. As for Luffy, he could be fighting self-defense. I was gonna give an idea where Gojo could be trying to recruit Luffy, but Luffy isn't one to blindly throw punches towards someone who's trying to reason with him or recruit him, and Gojo's not gonna start beating up Luffy, because even if he's not gonna start beating up Luffy if he wants to recruit him. Because of the reason these two are fighting, Gojo's win-con is killing Luffy, or knocking him out at the very least, and Luffy's win-con is knocking out Gojo, since Luffy doesn't kill. Now, where do we place these two? This intertwines with how I'll use verse equalization. I'll talk about two scenarios of this fight, one where we use verse equalization, and the other where we don't. And in both scenarios, we put Gojo and Luffy in a version of our world they aren't familiar with, while still allowing them to use their power systems. And now that we've got that established context, we shall begin. Also, I should have said this before. In my previous video where I was talking about Foucault, I took into account Umas. Here we can take into account cursed spirits, because cursed energy exists in the world, but I don't think Gojo's going to use that, because he's not that kind of character, he's not Toji, so that's not really important. Let's start with scenario 1, where we use verse equalization. Now, why does this matter? I think it's because I think Luffy's armament haki can bypass infinity. Let me explain. It is explained by Law in his fight against Blackbeard that you can negate a Devil Fruit's ability with strong enough armament haki. With verse equalization, Gojo's Limitless would act like a Devil Fruit, and Luffy could use armament haki to reach Gojo. I certainly think he would be strong enough to burn through Gojo's barrier. Now that we've established that Luffy can touch Gojo, let the real fight begin. Gojo isn't going to take Luffy seriously. I mean, look at him. Luffy's like a joke. He looks like a joke. I say this with love, okay? I love him, and don't get angry at me. It's safe to say both Luffy and Gojo wouldn't take each other seriously. I mean, just look at Luffy fighting the man who almost killed his crew 2 years ago. He's goofing off. And Gojo here is high as a kite against Toji. Luffy won't really be serious unless there's personal stakes, be it freeing Nami from Arlong, saving Alabasta for Vivi, saving Robin from the world government, or saving Wano for the sake of the scabbards in Tama. Luffy here wouldn't automatically go into Gear 5, and Gojo wouldn't automatically whip out Domain Expansion. I think Luffy would pull his punches less, as I think he'd start using advanced armament almost immediately, because I think he's just like that. I think he'd pull out Gear 5 fairly quickly, considering he just got it and he seems a little trigger happy with it, as he even used it against Lucci for fun. Gojo is definitely one to screw around with Luffy, and I could see them messing around with each other, and I'll say this now, Luffy is gonna whoop Gojo around, especially with Gear 5. Gojo does have Hollow Purple and Domain Expansion though. It wouldn't happen, but it's a funny image to me if Luffy turned Hollow Purple into rubber and used like a mega basketball. Even if he probably couldn't do that with Hollow Purple, I think he could dodge it. Yes, I'm serious. If he is able to go multiple meters from the top of the Stratodome, I don't know its real name, to this point, on par with a light beam, he's able to dodge a Hollow Purple. The one thing Gojo has that would genuinely give Luffy trouble is Domain Expansion. You could make the case that Luffy's so brain dead that it wouldn't affect him, or he could turn the domain into a bouncy castle, but that wouldn't sit well with the Gojo fangirls. In all seriousness, Gojo's Domain Expansion would be a genuine problem for Luffy, as even if it isn't an instant open, Gojo would be able to catch Luffy in a 0.2 second domain if Luffy dodges the first time, because in case it doesn't close immediately. But I could also see Luffy using Future Sight to catch Gojo out before Gojo even thinks about opening his domain. The problem with this is Luffy's a little inconsistent with using Future Sight. He's forced to use it constantly against Katakuri. It's implied to use it, but not always, against Kaido, and forgets to use it against Kizaru. If Luffy actually uses Future Sight, Gojo won't catch Luffy in a domain. But for this scenario, Luffy wins with mid-high difficult. Why can't I talk? Luffy wins with mid to high difficulty, as Armament Haki could get through Limitless, Hollow Purple could be dodged, and Domain Expansion could put Luffy out of commission if he doesn't use Future Sight. Next up is Scenario 2. This has no verse equalization, and this is where Luffy can't hit Gojo. Well, actually, he might still be able to, because he might be able to turn Gojo's Limitless to rubber, but that's very unlikely. Luffy wouldn't really be able to hit Gojo here, but he still outclasses Gojo in every way. The thing that makes him lose this is his ticking time bomb. Luffy's still new to using Gear 5, so he can't use it for that long. Eventually, he'll be so winded that he'll become an old man. This is where Gojo would take the chance to murk Luffy. In short, Luffy still outclasses Gojo in every single way, but since Luffy can't touch Gojo, he'd be winded after Gear 5 before he could even touch him, leaving Gojo to win. Mid to high difficulty, because Gojo may not be able to touch. Luffy may not be able to touch Gojo, but Gojo still can't really hit Luffy, and he still has to wait out the time. And that's all, folks. Thank you very much for listening to my rambling. Let me know what you thought of my thoughts, what you think of your thoughts, and generally share your opinions as long as they're on topic and respectful. This is about anime after all, so the only person we hurt with our toxic behavior is ourselves. Thank you very much once again. Please request any videos you'd like to see, and I'll try making them. And goodbye. As you know, this is just a off-script outro rambling. It acts as something where other YouTubers will just have some music while you leave. I'll just talk. You're free to leave. You can stay if you want. Thank you if you do. I don't know what to talk about today. Yes, I know JJK, Under Unlock, and One Piece have released their chapters. I'm really bummed out about One Piece's break, but I understand why. It's gearing up like hell. It's painful. Let's take a break now. It's peak. What more is there to say about One Piece? It's just peak. JJK, on the other hand, good God, is it bad? I want to be positive about it, and Kusakabe is really awesome, but I just... What's there to be hyped about? Miguel? What, like 5 Miguel fans? He hasn't been relevant for like 100 chapters or so. Maybe, actually no, less than 100 chapters, because, Dog's Band before coming again, but like, come on, I don't think, barely anyone cares about it. At this point, it's really dragging on. It feels like it's pointless dragging. That's what's worse. It feels unnecessary. Just have Yuji come in, or have everyone come in now. It's just not that exciting. Under Unlock, peak. I can't wait to talk. I don't know if I'll talk about it. I don't really have much to say about it. It's just cool. Uma language is cool. They haven't really done much with her. This is just kind of like setting up the fight even more on Nico's perspective. So, yeah, I thought I think correct me if I'm wrong. I think they make Nico a member of the Round Table, which I don't. I thought only Negators can be part of the Round Table, and he hasn't unlocked Unforgettable yet. I think it's Unforgettable or something like that. But yeah, I feel like he hasn't unlocked it yet, so I don't know if he's in the Round Table. Anyway, I watched the Batman movie again a while ago. I watched it when it first came out. I wasn't really a fan of it. I found it boring. I watched it again. It's still amazing, but I still find like the middle bit a bit disconnected, and the finale is also feels pretty disconnected. I might make a video on it. I'm not sure what else I can make a video on right now. There's still Batman. Ooh, yeah, I have something in the pipeline, where it's talk about Gojo and Fuko. It's not a power scaling thing, because, come on, the Fugo clears. I'm joking, or am I? You don't know, we'll see. I probably won't make that video ever, but yeah. I'm not gonna make a video on JJK, One Piece. I'm not sure about Underluck, because I don't really have much stuff to say about those. One Piece is just peak as always. JJK is just... It's just been even more complaining, which is like the same thing I say every week. And I proceed to come back every week. Underluck is just good. Yeah, I'm reading 20th Century Boys, which is amazing. Really great. When I finish it, I might make a video on it. We'll see about that. Ooh, 3-minute segment. Are these getting long? These are really padding out the runtime. Anyway, goodbye. I'll leave you to watch some other stuff.